The suburban New Jersey dawn broke over Maple Creek with a gentle, predictable beauty. Dew clung to the perfectly trimmed lawns of the houses on Willow Lane, each one a testament to careful ambition and realized dreams. In one such home, the soft glow of a smart kitchen illuminated the morning routine of the Shah family. Arjun Shah, handsome and energetic at 38, scrolled through financial news on his tablet while expertly flipping an omelet. The aroma of spices mixed with brewing coffee. Across the island, his wife, Anya, 36, packed a lunchbox with vibrant, homemade food, her movements efficient and calm. A colorful drawing from their 7-year-old daughter, Ria, was stuck to the refrigerator with a magnet, declaring this the best family. To any outsider, and to most of their friends and family, this was the ideal. The Shahs represented the pinnacle of the immigrant success story, prosperous, educated, deeply rooted in their community, and seemingly unshakable. Their love story was the foundation of their legend. They had met not through an arranged setup, but organically, as graduate students at the University of Michigan. Arjun, studying computer engineering, was captivated by Anya's quiet intelligence as she pursued her master's in public health. Their courtship was a modern fairy tale of late-night study sessions turning into shared dreams. They spoke of blending the best of both worlds, ambitious careers anchored by traditional family values. Their wedding was a magnificent fusion of vibrant Indian ceremonies and elegant American receptions, a celebration witnessed by beaming parents from both sides. Anya's mother, Shobha, a graceful widow who had devoted her life to her only daughter after her husband's passing, had wept tears of pure joy. She saw in Arjun the strong, reliable partner she had always prayed for her Anya. The years that followed were a checklist of achieved goals. Arjun rose swiftly at his tech firm, his name becoming synonymous with innovative solutions. Anya, no less accomplished, led community health initiatives, her work praised for its compassion and effectiveness. They built their home in Maple Creek specifically for its excellent schools and serene environment. Shobha, living only 20 minutes away, became the heart of their domestic life. She was the one who picked up Ria from school, filled the house with the smell of fresh rotis and stories from her childhood in Mumbai, and provided a constant, nurturing presence that allowed Anya and Arjun to soar in their careers. Social media, which Anya curated with a light touch, showed a life of harmonious balance, festival celebrations, hiking trips, professional award ceremonies. They were not just a couple, they were a unit, a trio with Shobha, admired and respected. Yet, within the most polished surfaces, the first, invisible hairline fractures can begin to form, born not from a single blow, but from the slow, steady pressure of unspoken expectations and the quiet loneliness that can grow even in a full house. Arjun's success began to demand more travel, more networking, more of his mental space. Anya, the consummate caregiver to everyone, started to notice the conversations shifting from shared dreams to logistical planning, from us to the management of a successful, busy life. But the love, she believed, was still the bedrock. It had to be. They had built everything upon it. The pressure of maintaining their golden image was a weight carried mostly by Anya. Arjun's distraction manifested as a growing preoccupation with the external markers of success. A new, more expensive car appeared in the driveway. His conversations became peppered with names of exclusive clubs and golf courses. The business trips, once occasional, grew longer and more frequent, a week in San Francisco, 10 days in Austin. Anya, juggling her own demanding role at the community health center, the intricate logistics of Ria's school and activities, and the subtle management of her mother's occasional loneliness, found herself increasingly alone in their shared life. She told herself this was the season they were in, the hard, busy years of building a legacy for Ria. It was Shobha who first sensed a discordant note in the symphony of their lives. During one of her almost daily visits, her sharp, maternal eye, trained by years of careful observation, noticed small, foreign details. A sleek, silver lighter in the cup holder of Arjun's car, though he did not smoke. A faint, floral perfume on his jacket, subtle and expensive, nothing like the simple sandalwood soap Anya used. Once, when Arjun thought he was alone in the home office on a video call, Shobha overheard a low, intimate laugh and the tail end of a sentence, "Miss you too. Tomorrow, for sure." The tone was one she recognized, the soft, private voice of affection. Her heart ached for her daughter. She approached the subject with the delicate touch of a lifetime of diplomacy. One afternoon, while helping Anya fold laundry, she mentioned, almost offhandedly, how strained Arjun seemed, how much he was away. "You work so hard, Beta," Shobha said, her eyes not leaving the shirt she was folding. "Does Arjun ever talk about his stress? His travels?" Anya dismissed it instantly, a slight edge of defensiveness in her voice. "He's under a lot of pressure, Amma. We all are. It's fine." Shobha let the matter drop, but a knot of cold dread tightened in her stomach. She began to watch more closely, her presence in their home now a silent vigil. The truth, however, was far more monstrous than Shobha's worst fear. Arjun's affair was not with a colleague from a conference or a stranger from an app. The woman was named Leela, a vibrant, younger interior designer he'd hired to consult on his firm's new office spaces. Their connection was instant and electric, fueled by her admiration for his success and his delight in her boundless, uncomplicated energy. But the treachery ran deeper than a secret hotel room. Arjun, craving both thrill and a perverse sense of convenience, had begun using Shobha's empty apartment for their liaisons when he knew Anya was at work and Shobha was at his own house caring for Ria. He had a key. It was, in his twisted logic, the perfect, unsuspected location. The sanctity of Anya's childhood home, the place that symbolized her mother's love and sacrifice, had been violated, turned into a secret den for his infidelity. The betrayal was a double-edged blade, poised to cut through the two most sacred relationships in Anya's life, though she, busy keeping their perfect world spinning, remained blissfully, tragically unaware of the abyss opening beneath her feet. The discovery was not a dramatic confrontation. It was a quiet, seismic event that occurred in the sterile glow of a laptop screen on a perfectly ordinary Tuesday evening. Shobha had been feeling unwell, a persistent migraine that forced her to cancel her usual visit. Anya, concerned, had gone to her mother's apartment after work with some homemade soup and Ria in tow. While Ria watched cartoons in the living room, Anya moved through the familiar space, tidying up. She decided to reset her mother's Wi-Fi router, which had been acting up. Needing to access the admin settings, she borrowed Shobha's old laptop from the study desk. As the machine whirred to life, a notification popped up in the corner, a cloud storage service, syncing automatically. It was Arjun's account. He must have logged in months ago to print something and never signed out. A small, blinking icon indicated recent uploads. Anya's finger hovered over the trackpad, a lifetime of trust warring with a new, instinctual dread. She clicked. The folder was not hidden. It was labeled vaguely, Project Eclipse. Inside were not architectural plans or financial charts, but a cascade of images. The first few were innocent enough, shots of a stylish, modern office space. Then came the pictures of Leela, laughing at a restaurant. Anya's breath hitched. But the nausea, the world dropping out from under her feeling, came with the next series. The background shifted. Here was Leela, in a silk robe, smiling in a sun-drenched bedroom. Anya recognized the throw pillow on the bed. It was one she had bought for her mother, a deep blue with gold embroidery. The next photo showed a half-empty wine glass on Shobha's own nightstand, the distinctive carved wood unmistakable. The timestamp was from a Tuesday afternoon 3 weeks prior, a day Shobha had been at Anya's house, and Anya herself had been presenting at a public health symposium. A cold, metallic clarity washed over her. This was not a simple affair. This was a desecration. Her husband had not just cheated, he had chosen the one sanctuary, the one place that represented pure, maternal love and her own history, to conduct his betrayal. And the final, devastating twist was yet to come. Scrolling further, she found a receipt, scanned and saved. It was for a pair of diamond earrings, purchased from a boutique in the city. The note on the digital receipt read, "For my dearest S, thank you for understanding." The delivery address was Shobha's apartment. The pieces of a horrific, impossible puzzle slammed together. The perfume Shobha had noticed, the whispered call her mother had overheard, they pointed not just to Arjun's sin, but to her mother's complicity. In Anya's shattered mind, the evidence was incontrovertible. Her mother had not just known, she had facilitated it, perhaps even approved of it, and been rewarded for her silence. The two pillars of her existence had not merely crumbled, they had conspired to bury her alive. In that silent, lonely apartment, with the sounds of cartoons drifting in from the other room, Anya's love for both of them crystallized instantly into a hard, diamond-sharp core of pure, silent hatred. The victim was gone. In her place, something new and dangerous began to take shape, planning its response with a chilling, surgical precision. The change in Anya was profound, yet invisible to those who thought they knew her. She did not cry. She did not scream. She simply closed the laptop, finished tidying her mother's apartment, and drove Ria home with a calm, steady stream of conversation about school. When Arjun returned from a late meeting, she greeted him with the same distracted smile as always. She listened to his stories about work pressures with a sympathetic nod. Inside, however, she was an architect studying blueprints for demolition. Her medical knowledge, once used for healing, now provided a new framework. She began researching with cold focus, her searches hidden behind incognito browsers, metabolic interactions, synergistic sedatives, compounds undetectable in routine screenings. Her plan required patience and observation. She noted that Arjun had begun drinking a specific expensive scotch, a gift from a client, every night to unwind. Shobha, always concerned about digestion, had a nightly ritual of a cup of fennel tea. Anya became the model of nurturing care. She bought a beautiful crystal decanter for Arjun's scotch, ensuring his nightcap was always ready. For her mother, she prepared a special blend of herbal calming tea, citing a new wellness article. She sourced the components separately, a potent, fast-acting prescription sedative from a sample cabinet at her clinic, a strong over-the-counter sleep aid, and a mild muscle relaxant. Individually, they were benign. Combined, in the right proportions with alcohol or caffeine, they induced a deep, paralytic unconsciousness that mimicked extreme exhaustion. For 3 weeks, she tested the doses. A slightly stronger mix in Arjun's drink left him snoring heavily on the couch by 9 p.m., complaining of work stress the next morning. A more potent brew in Shobha's tea had her mother canceling a morning visit, citing the deepest sleep she'd had in years. Anya adjusted her formulas with scientific detachment. She also began to engineer their guilt. She would mention, in front of Arjun, how tired and aged Shobha had been looking lately. To her mother, she'd confide her worries about Arjun's drinking and dark moods. She carefully painted a picture of two conspirators buckling under the weight of their own secret, fraying at the edges. The final piece was logistical. She studied the remote service roads near the new highway extension, an area littered with construction materials and no surveillance. She noted the weather patterns, waiting for a forecast of heavy, washing rain. She practiced moving Arjun's limp form from his armchair to the car seat, using a folded blanket as a makeshift sled. She calculated timing, alibis, and the forensics of a car accident. Every detail was considered. The revenge would not be a crime of passion discovered in a hot-blooded moment. It would be a quiet tragedy, a scandalous accident that would publicly shame them for an affair they did not know she had discovered. They would be remembered not as her beloved husband and mother, but as deceitful lovers whose reckless passion led to a humiliating end. And she, Anya, would be the heartbroken widow and daughter, left to pick up the pieces, forever absolved of suspicion, her own pain perfectly concealed behind a mask of profound, public grief. The night arrived wrapped in a torrential spring storm, perfect in its timing. Thunder grumbled in the distance as Anya prepared the final doses. She moved through the kitchen with a serene, methodical grace. Arjun, distracted by a work email, barely glanced up as she placed his cut crystal glass of scotch beside him. "Long day," she said softly, her voice a practiced melody of concern. He grunted in thanks and took a long swallow. In the living room, Shobha sipped her specially prepared tea, lamenting the weather but praising the blend for its soothing warmth. Anya watched them, a silent sentinel. Within 45 minutes, the drugs performed their flawless work. Arjun's head lolled back against the leather sofa, his phone slipping from his hand. Shobha, curled under a blanket, fell into a sleep so deep her breathing became almost imperceptible. The house was quiet save for the drumming rain. Anya checked their pulses, clinical and detached. She then began the physical labor of her plan. Using the folded moving blanket from the garage, she maneuvered Arjun's dead weight first, dragging him through the kitchen to the interior door leading to the garage. He was heavy, but her adrenaline and resolve were stronger. She buckled him into the driver's seat of his SUV. Returning, she repeated the process with her mother, arranging Shobha in the front passenger seat and securing the belt. The scene through the garage door window was a tableau of unnatural sleep. Anya, now drenched in sweat and rain from a quick trip to disable the exterior garage camera at the fuse box, changed into dark, waterproof clothing. She slid into the driver's seat, her heart a cold, steady drum. The drive to the construction site was a journey through a watery void, the windshield wipers fighting a losing battle. At the remote service road, she killed the headlights and relied on a small flashlight. Here, the final staging began. She poured a generous amount of Arjun's own scotch over his shirt and Shobha's blouse, splashing some on the dashboard. She took Shobha's purse and placed it on the floor by Arjun's feet, a subtle hint of intimacy. Then, with a strength born of utter finality, she released the parking brake and put the vehicle in neutral. The heavy SUV began to roll silently down the gentle, muddy incline. It gained a slow, inevitable momentum, finally coming to a jarring but not catastrophic stop against a pile of concrete barriers. The crash was a dull thud swallowed by the storm. Anya approached to make a final adjustment, using a rock to gently crack the driver's side headlight, suggesting impact. She then began the long, wet walk back toward the main road, a lone figure in the downpour, clutching a small backpack containing her wet clothes and the incriminating decanter and tea tin. 2 miles later, from a prepaid burner phone at a deserted bus shelter, her voice trembled with perfect, manufactured panic as she reported to 911 that her husband and mother were missing, that they had argued earlier, and that she feared the worst. She then called a taxi, returned home, and showered, washing the night down the drain. By the time the police knocked on her door, she was dressed in a robe, her face a masterpiece of believable, desperate fear, ready to receive the terrible news of the tragic accident she had so carefully authored. The initial investigation seemed to follow Anya's script perfectly. The responding officers found a scandalous scene: a married man and his mother-in-law, reeking of alcohol, crashed in a remote location. The community was rocked by the salacious gossip. Anya played her part with Oscar-worthy precision, oscillating between shattered grief and moral outrage at their betrayal. She gave statements about their growing closeness, his secretive phone calls, her mother's recent gifts of jewelry. She buried them in separate corners of the cemetery, a final, public shaming. She was the ultimate victim, deserving of nothing but sympathy. But Detective Lisa Reyes, a veteran with weary eyes and a mind that distrusted easy stories, felt a persistent itch. The accident seemed too narratively convenient. The toxicology report was the first crack. It confirmed high levels of alcohol, but also flagged trace metabolites of sedatives not prescribed to either victim. The combination was odd, too specific for a casual drink spiking. Then there was Anya herself. Reyes observed her at the funeral. The grief was performative, a surface display. In unguarded moments, her eyes were not red raw with pain, but flat and calculating. She never slipped, never displayed the messy, conflicting emotions of someone who had just lost both a spouse and a parent in a shocking betrayal. The break came from an unexpected audit at Anya's health clinic. A routine check revealed a discrepancy in sample medication logs. A powerful sedative, one that matched the metabolites found, was unaccounted for during the period Anya had been overseeing the inventory. When Reyes quietly interviewed the staff, a nurse recalled Anya being unusually interested in drug interactions and metabolic half-lives months prior, asking hypothetical questions that seemed academic at the time. The final, unshakable witness was not a person, but a piece of infrastructure. A traffic camera being tested on the new highway, a mile from the crash site, had captured a fleeting, rain-blurred image. It was time-stamped for the night of the accident. The image showed a lone figure, hooded, walking away from the direction of the service road, carrying a backpack, at a time Anya claimed to be home, frantic. The figure's posture and gait, when analyzed by forensic experts, bore a striking resemblance to Anya's. Confronted with the camera image and the drug audit, Anya's flawless composure finally fractured. She didn't break down in confession, she simply retreated into a cold, defiant silence. She had crafted the perfect revenge, a story that punished her betrayers in life and in death. But she had underestimated the silent, digital eyes of the city and the tenacity of a detective who believed grief should be messy, not neat. Her masterpiece had one critical flaw: it was too perfect. Anya was arrested not for a crime of passion, but for cold, premeditated murder. The final, tragic twist was that in her quest for justice, she had orphaned her own daughter, Rhea, who would now grow up knowing her mother as the architect of a horrific vengeance, leaving the beautiful house on Willow Lane as a hollow monument to a love that had curdled into something monstrous and irreversible.